After the Israeli attacks, what is next for oil prices? And what does it mean for the U.S. economy and for U.S. households? In recent videos, I mentioned how oil was already up roughly 30% in a matter of months because Joe Biden and his European clown car have crushed domestic production, which gave OPEC a green light to cut its own output since they don't have to worry about American shale drillers stealing market share. Those rising oil prices were already undoing the Fed's alleged progress on inflation. Progress that was bought at the cost of our banking system, now effectively pre-bailed out with taxpayer dollars, and at the expense of our productive economy, shriveling even as federal deficits artificially boost that GDP. The attack on Israel has now scrambled even that grim chessboard. With a death toll currently approaching 1,000 people, including women and children, this is already being called Israel's 9/11, and we're already seeing signs the conflict could spread far beyond Israel. With the U.S. sending warships, the Wall Street Journal reporting direct involvement by Iran, and many Muslim countries, including Saudi Arabia and Turkey, so far failing to clearly condemn the terrorists. This evokes memories of the Saudi-led Arab oil embargo during the 1973 Yom Kippur War, which tripled oil prices and fed into the worst economic crisis for Americans since the Great Depression. So 2 days after the attack, Goldman Sachs put out a research note laying out potential scenarios for oil prices. They predict a 20% rise to $100 a barrel, but they also note it depends how far the conflict spreads. Bloomberg, likewise, said oil prices will rise somewhat in the short term, but, quote, all eyes are on Iran. Analyst Alpine Micro was more alarmed, saying the conflict will, quote, very likely escalate, and predicting oil at potentially $150 per barrel, roughly twice what it's been, with knock-on effects across tens of trillions of asset markets. So what is next? Brought to you by Unchained. The key is how far the conflict spreads. On the one hand, Saudi Arabia wants to normalize relations with Israel, in contrast to their hostile stance in the 70s. On the other hand, Iran in 2023 is a potential nuclear threat to Israel. So a spreading conflict is indeed very likely. That could interrupt the global flow of crude even if there is no formal embargo, which takes us right back to the Saudis, who could, in theory, boost their own or OPEC's output to make up for Iranian disruptions, but that could be hard with public sympathy in Saudi Arabia for the attackers. So a lot depends on those Saudis right now. And by the way, that would be the same Saudis who Joe Biden just screwed over with his election buying drain of the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, which also, by the way, would come in really handy right now, considering that America is running on precisely 17 days of oil in the Strategic Reserve. Either way it goes, this is a bloody reminder that the world is becoming a much more dangerous place fast. An unsustainable mix of Washington's reckless fiscal, economic, and foreign policies were problematic a week ago. They are significantly more dangerous today. Tomorrow I'll talk about what the attack does to the rest of the economy. Meantime, we'll be watching. See you next time.